Hello everybody and welcome. My name is Brittany and that is Penny watching us. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about a couple of new plants that I got and a little bit about hanging plants. This one is going to be a hanging plant as it grows. And so I wanted to talk about hanging plants, how to care for them, some different ways to have them in your home. And I also wanted to show you guys this new shirt that I got. I thought you guys would appreciate it. It says, plants have souls too. So if you are interested in plants, in hanging plants, in planty flat fashion, stick around and let's talk about hanging our plants. Okay, so first things first, I did want to show you this new plant that I got from one of the big box stores. It is a Philodendron Brazil, and it is in a little bit of rough shape. So we're gonna do a little pruning, cleaning up of this plant. I just got it home a few days ago, and so I wanted it to acclimate before we started messing with it. But also, I have to show you, if you want the price tag, that is how much it cost. But I'm going to show you, I pulled this out of this secondary pot into the nursery pot, and it desperately needs a repot. It is root bound, it is growing out the bottom. So we're going to repot this, talk about how we can make this into a hanging plant in my house, a couple other plants that we have that are hanging, and then also talk a little bit about this new Hoya that I got. So this is just a baby, I think it's a 3-inch Hoya Crimson Queen that eventually will be trailing as well. I ordered this and I got it in and I thought it was so cute. So I just had to show you and see if anybody else has a large Crimson Queen. We would love to see it and get any care tips that you have, anything that you've learned about this plant. I would love to know how to make this thrive in my environment. What's Penny doing back there? So I'm gonna grab my stuff so that we can repot this Brazil, do a little bit of pruning, and talk a little bit about the care of hanging plants. Alrighty, I lowered you down just a little bit so you can kind of see what's going on with the repotting of this Philodendron Brazil. And we're gonna pull it out and see if the roots are filling this pot too much and it needs an upsize, or if it can stay in a pot similar to this size. I thought she was potting, she's not, she's just looking down the stairs. So I'm gonna pull this out gently. It's actually feeling kind of root bound. So, oh no, dang, it really is. Wow, so you can see all these roots. It does definitely need an upsize. So I'm gonna have to go look for a pot that is a little bit bigger. You can see the bottom there. Cool, well that's exciting. This was from, like I said, a big box store, and it's even growing into the shape of the pot there. And it was only $5, so kind of a win, I think. The roots seem really healthy. There's no rotting at all that I'm seeing, and there's new growth. This, look at that. I just love the smell of like soil. So I'm gonna get a bigger pot and we're gonna pot this up. This was a 4-inch pot, it looks like. So we're gonna go ahead and go up in size about 1 to 2 inches, because this is so root bound, we might go a little bit bigger, so that it has a little bit of room to grow, and talk about the care of this plant. So I did find a pot that is about 2 inches bigger than this nursery pot that this Brazil came in. So we're gonna go ahead and give it a nice soil mixture that's going to benefit it, give it some good drainage, because Brazils and philodendrons in general do like to dry out prior to being watered again. And by giving this plant a little bit chunkier of a soil mixture, it's going to allow those roots to dry out and not retain the moisture so much in the soil. And if it doesn't, it's okay, but you do have a chance of root rot. These are pretty easygoing plants in terms of water and light. And if you underwater them, they're usually going to be okay. You'll be able to tell because the leaves will start to droop. They'll start to look a little crispy on the little tips here. But if you overwater or allow the soil mixture to stay really moist, that is where you'll end up with maybe some problems. Things like I said, root rot, bugs, excess bugs in the soil. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this out. Again, I do want to break up this soil a little bit, and it doesn't look like a bad soil. So I'm gonna just put it into this. It is retaining a lot of moisture though. It does feel very soggy. I'm gonna go ahead and put this soil mixture into the pot with the soil that I have because I'm not removing a ton of it. Just enough to loosen this up and get it out from between the roots. That's wet. And I have not watered it since I got it. Look at that root, you can't see right there. Gosh dang, these leaves are huge. I do have to say, I am so impressed with this leaf size for what it is. And then I'm just gonna fill in with this chunky, dry soil so that we can hopefully get this dried out a little bit before we water it into the pot. So like I was saying with Brazil and philodendrons in general, they're pretty easygoing, and that pertains to light as well. So as you can see, this leaf is variegated, the Brazil. It has these cute little stripes down the middle, and if you give it more light, you will get better variegation. But if it doesn't have a highlight situation, it's not gonna die. It can survive in medium to low light and be okay. So we're gonna keep it on a windowsill. It's going to get some really good afternoon light from two different angles. I'll show you where it's going to live. And I think that it's going to heal up pretty nicely. So let me finish getting this all packed in here, and we will look at what this is gonna look like, and then take a look at some hanging plants and talk about options for our hanging plants. Okay, here we go. So I did get this all kind of settled down, the soil, gave it a good pat, gave it a little smush in there, and this looks so much more comfortable in this pot. If you see, it's a pretty significant size difference here, 2 inches, and it seems like the roots are really going to take off in here. So I'm gonna let this dry out a little bit prior to watering it, because I do not want those roots to start to rot in this bigger pot. And when I do, I'm gonna really thoroughly rinse the leaves because they are kind of dusty, musty, and crusty, but I'm gonna hold off on that a little bit. There's a new growth here, and I just saw one. There's a new growth down here, see it? So I think that it's really healthy, and there's no pests. I kind of isolated it for a few days before I did anything after I brought it home. And I think it just needs a little TLC for it to start looking better and really start to thrive, especially with this warmer weather coming up. So let's take a look at other plants that I have that are hanging, trailing, and talk a little bit about what options there are for this new Brazil. Okay, so one hanging plant that I do have is this Scindapsus pictus, aka a satin pothos, and it just hangs here and it trails, and we recently did propagate, chop and prop, so we cut the bottom part off and propagated it. So it is shorter than it was previously, but that is one hanging plant. And then here's another one of the hanging plants that we have. This is hanging in a window, and it is a Philodendron micans, and it just hangs here in this window. You can see the snow that we have on the ground here in Wyoming. And it's really loving it. It needs watered, but kind of is starting to climb up this macrame hanger. So those are the two trailing or hanging plants. Girl. Penny. I'm trying to film, girl. So this Philodendron Brazil will eventually trail down like that micans and that satin pothos. And I anticipate, because it is no longer in a greenhouse setting, that the leaves will get smaller. These leaves are gigantic. They are like as big as my hand. That is crazy. And so with that, if I wanted to keep up with the size of these leaves, another option would be to put this onto a moss pole. And philodendrons thrive on moss poles because of their ability to grow aerial roots. So these are the roots that grow out of the nodes. And they can attach themselves onto things to help them climb, like they climb a tree in the rainforest. So they would attach themselves into the moss and nourish from there, and the leaves would continue to grow in size. I don't plan on doing that with this specific plant. I want it to trail. So the leaves are likely going to get smaller, which is totally okay with me. I could also place it on a wall and hook it on a wall, and it would grow up that way. I'm not going to, but those are a couple options if you have trailing plants and you love the size of the leaves being so huge like this. So trailing plants are super fun. They really do bring a lot of life to a room. If you have some really cool trailing plants or have some tips on how to continue to produce these huge leaves when they are trailing, leave us a comment down below because we want to learn from you as well. And if you like this video, and Sissy back there, hi. Subscribe to my channel, and we'll talk all about plants as we continue to get them. If you have also a Crimson Queen, I really want to see it because I'm just kind of starting out with Hoya and don't know a ton about them, but I'm really excited to see what this guy does here over the next couple months as it starts to warm up. And I will keep you updated on this, and I will see you during my next video.